Welcome to this week's episode of Does That Make Sense? Happy Halloween, Antoinette.
Happy Halloween, Amanda.
Today we've got a special episode just for Halloween, and it's called Australia's Most Haunted. And we're welcoming back to the show Kerry Sees, a psychic, because she actually runs Kerry Sees ghost and paranormal tours. And she's going to answer all those ghostly questions we have about ghosts, poltergeists, and tell us some of the most haunted places around Australia. So welcome back to the show, Kerry Sees. Kerry, you're joining us for our Happy Halloween edition of Does That Make Sense? And we thought you are just about the best expert on all things to do with ghosts, because you actually do ghost tours and paranormal tours. How long have you been doing these paranormal tours for?
Well, happy Halloween, ladies, and
Yes.
Thank you for having me back. The time that I've been doing it is 10 years plus. So I decided, because I've been seeing ghosts and feeling ghosts for so many years, I decided to take people on the ghost and paranormal tours.
Just so people can understand this a little bit more, I've been on a ghost tour, I remember before in Port Arthur, and it was quite theatrical. But your ghost tours, you've got a whole Ghostbuster team working with you.
I do. I've got a paranormal team that has joined forces with myself, and we don't do anything theatrical at all. Mm-hmm. I think we're the theatrical ones because we do get scared as well for what things come out. And that's happened quite a few times. So, yes, I do have my own paranormal team. They are from Adelaide. So my paranormal team, what we do with them, or what I do with them, is that they've got a lot of technology. So we have it that they're filming it. They've got it that you can have the voice recordings coming through. And we also have like the lights. There's so many lights that we set up for the energies. It's amazing what comes out. You may not hear it straight away, but what you'll hear is at the end of it, we might leave a room and then you've got all the voices going on and people saying stuff and everything. So we download all that, and we've been talking about that we would send it to each person that goes on the ghost tours.
So what locations are we talking about that you've been covering so far on the ghost tours, and what's also coming up? Talk a bit about that.
Okay, so I'll just quickly run through all the ones that I have done over the last couple of years. So I've done Beechworth Asylum, Ararat Asylum, J Ward in Ararat, Melbourne Jail, Fremantle Jail, Adelaide Jail, Richmond Jail and Township of Tasmania, Port Arthur, Tasmania, Walhalla, Dubbo Jail, Geelong Jail, Junee Mansion and Maitland Jail.
There seems to be a lot of jails.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
There is a lot of jails. There is a lot of jails and asylums. Well, it's supposed because they're back in the late 1800s as well, or middle 1800s, and then you had the convicts as well. So a lot of them all came over and went into jails. Or Richmond, if anybody's ever been to Richmond, Richmond's really, really a ghosty place, beautiful place, but it was all built by the convicts. So Port Arthur, we all know about Port Arthur. And
yes.
But Richmond, so people from Port Arthur were convicts, also went to Richmond. There's another place called Campbelltown in Tasmania, and it's all convict built. I've done a lot of cemeteries. Ararat Cemetery is another really good one to go to as well. So, and there's a lot of history in them. So when you're going back to the old sections of the cemeteries that you can do the tours on, and it's just amazing what you can see, what you feel, and so forth.
And so, what is probably some of the scariest of experiences out of all of the places you've been to? Like, what really freaked you out? Because, I imagine for you, it could be like another day at the office, but you said in the intro, that you get a bit scared as well by some of it.
I do get a bit scared. Yes. I'm not going to say, because when I'm not least expected, and one of them that brings me straight through to my mind straight away is Adelaide Jail. So when my paranormal team and I was first starting to get together, we were in the Adelaide Jail. So Paul was telling me all about what was going on in this area and so forth. Anyway, so it was called, I'm sure it was called, and I'd have to double check, the new room, okay, or the new building. I have to double check what it was actually called. Anyway, it's where they were hung. and they've got two rooms called the freezer rooms. And when you go in there, you've got all these cells, and all these ones are the ones that will eventually be hung, all these prisoners. So at this freezer room, so he was explaining how he shuts the door, and it's like one of those old fridge doors. And so it's like it shuts. They're being given 2 rolls of toilet paper for dignity to roll themselves in, and because they're stark naked. And then there's a door that's all got bars on it, and they actually lock that, and then they walk away, and then within 24 hours this person's been brought out to be hung. So Paul was explaining this to me, and we had all the equipment sitting there, and we had all the lights there, nothing was going on, and we're a bit disappointed in this. So as he showed me this door, and we shut the door slam, we shut the bar door slammed. Well, blow me down, as we turned around, both doors opened up. And there's no way knowing you can open them up. Well, it frightened the absolute bejesus out of us. I jumped 10 feet, he jumped 10 feet. We both squealed like little girls. And we kind of ran to the front. And then we watched all the lights actually in that section where all those cells are went off crazy. Wow. So that was probably the most scariest I've ever done. That I was so least expected. And I had a pendulum as well. So the pendulum was going crazy. So there was a lot of spirit there.
Are they ever physical?
I was just about to tell you one on physical.
Oh,
so
okay.
I was in the Geelong Jail. And this is going back a few years ago. And I was in the Geelong Jail. So I was a participant on a tour. And I went into what they called the morgue. And it's a very, very small room. And I was with a girlfriend, actually. And I just said to my girlfriend, I've got to get out of here. And she goes, you all right? And apparently I went white. So anyhow, I said, I've just got to get out. And I could feel 2 hands on my chest pushing me out of that room. And I'm like, I just need to get out. And I felt like I couldn't breathe. The moment I walked out, I was pushed. And I ended up on my backside on the cobblestones. Wow, and literally went up the cobblestones, and I went, okay. That was the angry ant, is what I call an angry ant. So, that, Dubbo Jail, if you've ever been to Dubbo Jail, I've had experiences there, and you could hear women screaming, and you can hear the men as well. And I had somebody pulling my hair in the Dubbo Jail. So they can get physical. That's like a poltergeist thing.
Oh, is that what a poltergeist?
That was our question.
Yeah, I was talking to Amanda and I said, what's a poltergeist? I remember being young and you watched all these horror movies and I'm like, what's a poltergeist? And I thought, I need to ask you, you've got the friendly ghosts and then you've got, it's a poltergeist, are they the bad ghosts?
Well, poltergeist doesn't need to be an angry ghost. Poltergeist is more a physical thing. So what I mean by that, you could be sitting home. You should come and stay with me for 24 hours. Things happen.
No, thanks.
So,
I don't know about 24 hours.
And, nothing, and nothing for me to be sitting down. My TV goes off, my lights go on. If they're off, they come on. So lights that go on and off. So they're like your physical poltergeist type of things. I just recently, in the last 3 or 4 days, I had a girlfriend of mine who's got a granddaughter, and she's only 5. And she told her auntie, don't scratch me. The auntie was sitting on the other side of the room. And the auntie had turned around and said, Moo, I didn't scratch you. I'm sitting here. And she turned around and went, oh. They lifted up her jumper and she had a scratch on her arm.
Oh, jeez.
She's 5. Wow. So
are they dangerous?
No, look, they're not dangerous. You just need to be strong enough to know what you're doing to get them out of the way. So if they're a bit of an angry ant or they want attention, most spirits and ghosts want attention. Okay. Right. They want to be recognised. So when you go to ghost tours, go to cemeteries and that, the louder you are, the better it is.
Imagine you and I on a ghost tour.
Ghosts don't generally want to hurt you. They actually want to be recognised.
Another question about ghosts. So you find people that will talk about their places being haunted, or like the asylum. You've got the ghosts or the spirits that are there are quite vocal and loud and all of the above. Why are they stationed in one place? Why can't they see the light?
Move on?
Yeah.
So generally what happens is because there's been a lot of trauma for whatever reason, and back in those days you can appreciate how much trauma there was. I mean, the asylums all finished in 70s, 80s and 90s. They all closed. Yeah. So a lot of these people were treated badly. So what they're looking for, they're too scared. It's not that they haven't gone to the light, they have, but they're too scared to leave what they know and where they lived. So it's like they want to move on. They move on, but they come back. And the people that come back are the ones that they want, because this is their homes. This is where their trauma was. So they want to tell their story. So this is why you will find a lot of cemeteries are quite haunted. A lot of houses are quite haunted. You go into an old home, for myself, and I can't speak for anybody else. If I go into an antique shop, 10 minutes max for me. I can't stay in an antique shop because they all just come and have a good old chat to me. And I go very lightheaded, and they want to tell me their stories, good or bad. They want to tell me their stories. Lots of train stations are haunted around Australia. Oh, yeah. And a lot of old pubs. I've been to a lot of old pubs that are operating, and there's one near where I live that I go to, and we have a meal all the time. There's this man that sits there, and he'll sit by my side.
Wow.
So...
What would you say are the 5 top most haunted places in Australia? Like if someone's really looking for, some type of
activity?
Yes.
Look, the ones that I can talk about and the ones that I know myself, number 1 would be Beechworth, Asylum.
Yes.
Number 2 is definitely Adelaide Jail.
Right.
So there's a lot in there. Number 3 is Walhalla. Now, if you don't know where Walhalla is, it's down in Gippsland. And it's an old mining town. So the whole town is actually full of ghosts. You'll see lights moving, you'll see people moving. They'll even come and touch you on your arms. Wow. So they do that too. But Walhalla is really good. Yes. That was number 3. Number 4 is definitely Richmond Jail and the township, for sure.
Right.
So just the whole township is amazing. Okay. Number 5, I've put down Geelong Jail.
And what about no-go zones? I mean, surely you've been to places and they're like, Kerry, piss off. I don't want you here. Leave me alone. So are there any no-go zones that you just are completely a write-off for you?
Absolutely. We went to Fremantle Jail. And this is going back quite a few years ago, and I went there, and they've got the where they went and hung the executions were. I just couldn't walk in there. Could not walk in there for anything. And I tried, and I was just shut off because I think for me, I was so sensitive, and the ghost just going, no, we're not going to show you this. And they just kept me out. Everybody else could walk in. Everybody was walking in. I couldn't walk in. They wouldn't let me in. Another place is this Richmond place. So there's a really old church that operates. And my daughter was with me, and I said to my daughter, let's go in and have a look at this beautiful old church. Again, it was done by the convicts. And so went to walk in, doors are open, bang, the doors were slammed in my face before I could even get to the front doors. And they were like, oh, okay, maybe they're just on a time lock. So I walked away and the doors opened up. As I've walked in there, got closer, bang, closed in there. Couldn't walk inside the jail at all.
Wow. And Kerry, a lot of people think ghosts come out between 3 and 4. Would you say that's the case? Like, do they tend to come out between 3 and 4? No, that's like just a myth, is it?
Definitely not.
Myth. Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, ghosts are around 24/7. The reason why we don't see and feel them so much is because generally during the day we're always busy. Okay, so our minds are thinking everywhere else.
Yes.
Ghosts are prominently a lot more active at night. So
Yes.
it's after dark, not necessarily 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, could be 10 o'clock at night. I do
Right.
these ghost tours and, we can start at 8 and they're ready because they know, but then I'm calling them in as well. I'm asking, to come in, come and show us what you are, who you are, what you can do, what you can't do.
Yeah.
So, I've been to Beechworth and generally I have dinner with everybody before we go, depending on the times. And so I'm just saying, okay, I'm clearing everybody before and after. And then we go to Beechworth Asylum. And this man, he had his paranormal speaker, and it came up in another morgue and come up, hello, psychic.
No way.
I did say it. I kid you not, it came up, and I wasn't actually in the room. I was down the other end of the building, and next minute, my whole lot of my clients are yelling out, Kerry! So I've come running up, and they're going, have a look at this, and we're like, oh, okay. So I go, and next minute they've got this like a voice recorder, and it comes up with what they're saying, and I've looked around and it's got hello psychic, and all I could say was, oh, hello. That's all I could say. What else could I say? I was in shock.
How are you?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, hello. So that's what happened there, and that was at Beechworth, and that just come up, hello psychic.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, you can't predict this type of stuff.
You can't, no.
And with people going on one of your tours, your ghost tours, what are the main things that they would expect? Like, will they feel? Will they see? Will they have someone touch them? Like, what sort of experience would you expect?
Okay, so majority of all my clients that we've gone on ghost tours, they will feel breezes. So it could be in a really still room, and let's say it's at Beechworth. That was the last one I've just done, and we're in one of the rooms there, and we're just standing there, and it's really what we call dead still, and there's no breeze. The windows are locked down. There's nothing to even remotely think that you've got a breeze. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So
we were standing there, and then it got awfully hot, and then you had these cool breezes going past you.
Oh.
So you'll feel the presence of the spirits or ghosts.
Yep.
I use a pendulum when I go and take my clients out on ghost tours, and I just hold it, and you've got to hold it very still, and it goes crazy. So when I'm asking questions, it starts, to go to my pendulum, and I ask them to go to the pendulum too if there's a bit still, and I'm saying, I know you're over in that corner, but can you come to me? And then the pendulum starts. Or I could be just standing there and it's just going off crazy.
Have you had any stories of where you've been to somewhere like Beechworth, in particular a place like an asylum, which tragic events have occurred, that you've had a spirit that is really sad?
Absolutely. They used to have this room, and I think it's closed now, unfortunately. It used to be called the boys' room. So we went into this boys' room. I've never, ever felt so much sadness in all my life, in going all the ghost tours I've ever been to. So we walked into there, and I kept saying, I really don't want to walk in here. And I didn't know at the time what that room was. This building, It wasn't even a room, it was a whole building. So I was privileged enough for the people at Beechworth to take me into this. Yeah. And it was only me that went in there, and my husband. And and I walked in there, all I could smell was disinfectant and Dettol. And the man that took me in there, he's saying, what do you feel? And I said, I can just smell disinfectant and Dettol. And that's the moment I walked in. But all I felt and what I could see at that point in time was just sadness and a lot of tears. So cut long story short, we went upstairs, and he's going, what do you feel now? I said, I don't want to go into the toilet block. I didn't even know if it was a toilet block or not. I said, I'm being told not to go in the toilet block. And he said, why don't you want to go in there? I said, I'm being told I've got these young boys telling me not to go in there because that's where it all happened. And I was going, okay. And the man asked me, how old are these boys? And I said, oh, look, 12 through to 15, 16. He said, oh, okay. I ended up going into the toilet block where they were, and all I did was cry. That's all I could do was cry.
Yeah,
it was breaking my heart. And given the fact that I didn't know the story either, and I was just like, oh my Lord, what is going on here? So we were in there for quite a long time, and then we came out, and then he told me the story. So this building was just for boys, and the Dettol and the disinfectant, I said, and because I said to these men, I said, these boys are trying hard to walk. I said, and they're like, it's like dragging their feet. So the story goes that these young boys that were locked in at the Beechworth Asylum, they actually weren't allowed to shower and they weren't allowed to go to the toilet. So they were giving nappies to wear, and they could only go once a day. So they had to soil and pee in their nappies and have it on there, and then at the end of every night they would go, or at the end of every day they would go to have a shower, and that's the only time. They could never go to an actual toilet when they needed. They had to do it in their nappies. But it just smelt, and it was just sad. So, and there was a lot of tragedy in there with these boys.
It's hard to imagine, isn't it, that this actually occurred. It just blows my mind.
It blows my mind. I mean, I get very emotional when I do a lot of these ghost tours because there is a lot of tragedy in ghost tours.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of happiness because they're now released, but they get, well, I won't say they get stuck there. They choose to be there for their stories to be told.
Yeah.
Right, that makes sense. So if somebody's got some ghost activity happening at home, I mean, what advice would you give them on, like, what should they do if they're a little bit scared because things are happening at home, lights are going on, etc.? What's your key advice to them if they're really scared and they don't know what to do?
Look, my key advice would be sage your home with white sage.
Yes.
After you've saged it.
She said she'd burn the house down.
Or you can use incenses and burn the house down with it all. Incense or sage, you can go around with the sage sticks and so forth. Sage your house. After you've saged the house, then do a bit of lavender or rose just to put a bit of that love back into it.
Right.
Okay.
So essential oils or?
Yeah, essential oils, either or is quite okay. If you've still got activities, I would definitely suggest crystals, putting crystals in.
Okay.
So a lot of them for protection would be black obsidian and clear quartz, and the love side of it would be rose quartz, amethyst as well.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things you can do in order to protect yourself if you're too scared, or even if you've got children that are having nightmares and so forth. You can just grab some crystals and pop under their pillows so that they stop the nightmares as well.
Or they can contact you and you can come in and
ghost bust.
Well, I can do the ghost busting, and I can have all the crystals there for them as well, and I can have the incenses as well.
Yeah.
So
I recall, I think when I was in my 20s, I lived in a really old house in Camberwell, and I don't think it exists anymore, but I remember there was a lot of activity in that house, and it's like I was terrified I shared the house with two other people, but I was terrified to be there alone, and things like my light would like swing around. It was one of those dangly kind of lights, and it would swing around.
Oh, nice.
And I went to a psychic, and then they said to get rock salts in water and spray it around. So is that something you could do as well? So I was doing that in my room, and I think it rusted all my furniture from memory.
I don't think you need to spray rock salt and water, but what you can do is put salt at your front door.
Oh,
So
okay.
Himalayan salt, normal salt, any type of salt that you have, just only a tiny little bowl is enough, but you have it at the entrance of your front door. And
Right.
that will also, once you've cleansed, that will also stop the energy, like bad energy. Don't get me
Yes.
wrong, you can get some bad spirits.
Yes.
Okay, and they don't want to be bothered, but they don't want to leave where they are either.
Yep.
So, but if you're scared of activity and you just want them out of your house or whatever, even your car, you can put a bit of salt there as well. So just put a bit of salt at the front door.
In case you've got like
Okay.
a passenger that you don't know about. That's
Absolutely. Welcome to my world.
With your ghost tours, so the people that are just should not attend, like pregnant women or children.
I personally wouldn't take children.
Yep.
Because children are exceptionally sensitive to the spirit world. Okay. If they're 16 plus, I would take them. Under that, definitely not.
we don't have to be worried about them coming home with us. Like that would be a common question.
Oh,
You see
look,
that-
when you're on my tour, I
Yeah.
make sure I clear everybody. They actually come home with me. And
Right.
so I don't sleep. So
Oh my gosh.
every time I do a ghost tour, I say, no, you latch to me. If you're going home, you've got to latch on to me, basically. So I clear everybody so everybody can have a really good night's sleep, and knowing that they're not going to have an entity or a spirit or a ghost or whatever you want to call them go home with you. So quite often I'll do a ghost tour, and it could go for 4 hours, and that 4 hours I'm totally exhausted, and we go home, we go into our motels or wherever we're staying, and Kerry will be awake for the next 4 hours.
Wow.
Because they're all yak, 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 because they've all had a great time and they all want their bit.
Oh,
So
sounds like something out of that movie Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg.
oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So poor Whoopi, I can relate. But the ghost tours are great. They're a great experience. Mine is more about what the ghosts do or what the spirits are saying, and you'll see the pendulum. You can ask me questions and I can answer them through them. And I mean, you hear noises. People hear noises all the time. So some parts I do that we do, I actually say, right, everybody needs to be silent, because I'm going to try and get the spirits to give us some noises and so forth. The next minute you'll hear a great big bang or that type of thing.
Yeah.
And how can people find out of how to book? That's the word.
Book a ghost tour.
Okay. So book a ghost tour with Kerry Sees would be on Facebook. I've also got a website which is going to be updated, that you'll be able to go onto my website, kerrysees.com.au.
And we'll add all of those links into the episode details, so people can actually know how to reach out to you and how to book and find out what tours that you've got coming up. Kerry, this is going to be a date for us and Amanda to go on a ghost tour. We thank you very much for Ghostly, Australia's most haunted, isn't it?
Yeah, Australia's most haunted.
Happy
Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, Kerry.
Happy Halloween. Woohoo.